Hi, it's John from Crafts by John UK. Today's project is this lovely Christmas card using the beautiful Holy Night stamp set from Woodware Crafts. And you can see we've stamped the image. We've got a beautiful Christmas scene with an angel at the top heralding the birth of the baby Jesus. With stars, we've got a sunset, we've got rolling hills with sheep, and then we've got a beautiful building with the manger, Mary, Joseph and baby Jesus at the bottom. The detail on this stamp set is absolutely gorgeous. I hope you can see that. And there's lots of lovely areas to colour with a lot of texture. The wording at the bottom says Silent Night, Holy Night, all is calm, all is bright. If you want to see how I did this in about 30 minutes, please stay tuned. Okay, let's get started. So I've already taken my Woodware stamp set and I've positioned it in my stamp platform, and I'm going to take a general piece of watercolour card, pop that in and use my magnets to just stick it down. Just going to go over it lightly with my anti-static pad, because as per most of the Woodware stamps, they are very, very detailed, and to capture all that detail you need to make sure that you've got no grease or anything on your paper. Okay, so I'm just going to ink this stamp up, if I get my words out correctly. Moving the ink pad around as I do it, just to make sure that I get good coverage. Okay, that should do it. Let's pop that down. Give it a good press. Just let the ink rest on the paper for a moment so that it sinks into the fibres. Take that off. Let's have a look what that looks like. Yes, that's absolutely fine. I think we'll just go over it one more time just so that we get a really nice impression. And whilst that's just doing its stuff, I'm going to grab my container of ultrafine Wow Clear Emboss. I'm going to be embossing this because I'm going to be using quite a lot of water on it, and I want to give it a really good high gloss finish, and I want to give myself some nice edges to colour up to. So take that out, tap that off, just to remove any excess powder. And then take your heat gun, and I'm just going to warm mine up under the desk so it's not too noisy. And then we're just going to heat set that so that it's nice and firm on the paper. That also gives us a little bit of a border to colour up to, which is really good for getting a decent colouring edge. Okay, I'm just now heating this. I warmed my heat gun up before I started, so it was ready to go as soon as it hit the paper. It's always best to do that and not actually let it warm up while you're doing it. I'm just going over this. This stamp is absolutely beautiful. It's got some really gorgeous detail on it. And I'm thinking the hills, a green fade, the trees in a different shade of green, the sheep will colour in maybe a grey, and I'm thinking the buildings, sort of like a caramel maybe with like an orange and blue for the tops, so it looks kind of Turkish, Moroccan. I think that's going to look really nice when it's finished. So I'm just working my way over the whole image, just making sure that I heat everything. And we'll go, and then I shall flip the back and just give it a little heat also from the rear. There we go. Just put that away. Before we go anywhere else, we will clean our stamp. Always good practice to clean as you go along. I'm just using a damp cloth. Don't use wipes because A, they're very bad for the environment, and B, they also leave a lot of loose fibres on your stamps, and the last thing you want is hairs and loose fibres, because they will stamp with your image and make a mess of your card. Okay, I'm going to leave that on there because I'm probably going to be stamping some more of these. Okay, so there's our stamped image. You can see it's got a lot of lovely detail, from the little stars to the sort of little distressed dots all around. You've got a sunset there, so we need to reflect that in the sky. I'm thinking like a bold green on the edges of the hills, faded down all the way down the card, and then the building in a sort of a caramelly colour. And I'm not going to do anything to the edges on this at all, I don't think. I usually would sort of add some ink around the edges, but I think to make this image really stand out, we're not going to bother with that this time. Okay, right, I've got my Arteza pens. These are from a set of 48 colours. I absolutely love these. These are great pens. They're very quick for colouring, which is good. I've got a standard acrylic stamping block here, which I'm going to use. A lot of the time, I don't apply the pen directly to the paper. I apply the pen to the block and then take the ink from the block using a standard water pen. So I'll try and keep all of this in shot so you can see exactly what I'm doing. I've also got a piece of kitchen roll here, which I'll be using to blot and also to take water off my pen. So I'm going to start with the green. I'm going to use a fairly bright green. This is light green. And I'm just popping some of that onto my block. Take my water pen and just take the colour off. I'm not adding any water, I'm just taking the colour from the block. So I'm going to start on the hill. So I'm going to go just along the edges, working quite quickly, just to give them a blob of colour. I'm leaving quite a lot of water on the card and basically feathering the edges so that I don't get any hard lines. Then I'm going to just touch my brush onto the kitchen towel. So the brush is still wet, but you can see I've immediately taken a lot of that colour off. So what I'm doing now is I'm just pulling the colour from the green that I'd already laid down to the bottom edge of the card, pulling it as I go. You can see where I get any ridges, I can just smooth those out as I go. So pulling the colour down, and you can see as the colour runs out, you get a nice natural fade. Working my way down the card. And obviously working my way around the images. Now, at some point you're going to run out and you're going to need more, but you can lay that down and then just keep working with it so that you actually thin it out as you go. It's good to work quite quickly when you're doing this kind of colouring. Taking some more. And if you want, you can always touch it off just to sort of lose a bit so that it doesn't look dramatically different than what's next to it. But also you can just blend it in as you go. So just working my way down, obviously following the lines of the image. At the bottom, I'm just going to take a bit more colour and just work my way across. And then I'm turning the card and just coming back up, taking some more of that green, but blending it in so I'm not getting particularly heavy colour. I love Woodware stamps. These stamps are a joy to colour. I tend to turn to these at Christmas because they have such a gorgeous Christmas range. I've got many in my stash and I've sold many on my Etsy store. Okay, and then what I would probably do, just to use up the last of the green that I've got on here, is I would once more go over the edge, just to cement the fact that that is a darker colour. And you can notice I'm dotting it so I don't get any hard blobs of colour. And anywhere you see you have got a little edge, just go over it. That will take it down a little bit. If it's slightly darker around the edge of the building, that's fine. It will look absolutely fine once it's dry. There we go. There's a layer of our green. To clean your brush, literally squeeze some water out and just rub it on your kitchen towel. Right, whilst we blow and let the green dry, I'm going to take now a nice light blue. This is Arctic blue. I'm just going to clean my block and then lay down a bit of blue. You can see the state of this brush. It's absolutely destroyed, but it doesn't matter too much because I don't actually use them directly, mostly for colouring. I always use the water brush. So I'm taking the blue and similarly going to work my way around the edge and down. I'm going to touch off and then again pull that colour down. I've gone over the star a little bit, but that doesn't matter because I'm going to colour that quite brightly with an actual really solid yellow. So I've got quite a nice blue around the edges, and that blue is fading as it comes into the centre of the card. And anywhere you look and think, could do with a bit more blue there, just add it. Whilst this is still wet, it's going to merge and it will end up looking absolutely fine. Again, get some blue, just go around the edge just to cement the fact that you are fading in from the edges. Right, clean your brush. And while we're there, I think I'm going to do the sun setting. So I think I'll probably use sunset yellow. That's rather appropriate, isn't it, considering it's a sunset? So take some sunset yellow, and we want our darkest colour at the bottom. Just touch off slightly, fade that out for the next line, touch off slightly, fade that out for the next line. Go back with the colour and then pull that out. There we go. And what I would then do is probably just blend that a little bit with the blue. There we go. Yep, that looks fine. Clean your brush. Give it a little blow. That's starting to look really nice. Right, now let's, I think, go in with a darker colour for the tree. So this is olive green. Let's put some olive green down there. You can mix these colours. I've got another green here as well, which is seaweed green. I'm going to mix those two together just to make sure these are quite dark. Take some colour up onto your brush. Note, as I'm pulling that colour off, I'm twisting the brush. That way it keeps it with a relatively nice point. Yeah, this is good colour actually, because I wanted a completely different green than I'd done for the grass. There we go. Right, let's colour all the trees. Pick in more paint up as you need it. give them a little second layer. And remember, you can always go back with the same colour. So that's it, paint that as you go. So now we've done our meadow, we've done our trees, we've got the main sky, and we've got the sun, and we're getting there. So I think what I'll probably do next is the building. So let me start, I think, by doing the roof. So I'm going to use a couple of different colours here, sapphire blue and orange rust. I'm going to start with the sapphire blue. Just take some colour off onto my block and load up my brush. My brush is quite wet at the moment because I've just cleaned it, so I'm going to just take that off a little bit. Okay, I'm going to just colour in random parts of the roofs here with no real rhyme or reason. So just going over different segments. I want to give a variety of colour. So I'm just going to do different sections basically, and then the pieces in between I'll use a different colour on, just to sort of join the whole thing together. And again, if it ends up being a little bit lighter in colour than you'd really want, you can always do a second coat. That will make it darker. It's easier to add than to take away. So I'm just working my way around the image, just looking for different points of interest. And I'm going for a kind of Moroccan feel here. Trying to keep in that sort of sandstone colour palette. Okay, while I'm here, I'm going to do the angel. I'm going to give her, she's sort of implied. There's not too much detail on her, so I'm just going to give her a very pale so it's blue on blue, but obviously once you notice it, you notice it. And then just go along the bottom again and maybe colour that in. There we go. That's quite nice. Clean my brush. And then I'm going to turn that around because I'll just keep that blue in case I need it again. And then this is the orange rust, which I'm going to do the other focal points on the roofs with. Again, load up your brush, twisting it as you go. So let's go in now and do the other halves of the roofs, etc. Just colouring the other pieces as you go. I'm going to do this big one in the middle there. And then I think this piece here, I'm going to try and keep the main buildings in a sort of a caramel colour, but I want to pick out some elements. Let's do these sort of wings. Well, it's not the wings, it's the piece that frames the central image, but maybe do those in orange. I'll do this one in orange. And I think the top of this, maybe this piece here. Yeah, that all looks quite good. And what I'm also going to do, while I've got the orange, I'm going to darken these windows, ultimately. I'm just going to give them a little layer in orange now. So I'll do those while I'm here. Okay, that's enough of the orange. And you can see I've gone over the lines there, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to colour that piece in anyway. So you can see from a detail there. And I'm going to use a skin tone. This is peach, but I'm going to use that for the main building because I don't want anything too dark so that the orange and blue stands out. Okay, and I'm just going to give a wash over the whole building. It's quite a subtle colour, but it kind of looks like sandstone in sort of a Moroccan Turkish style. which I quite like. And bear in mind, if the colours are similar, you can actually just paint over the top. So I'm going to give these a background. I'm not really too decided yet what I'm actually going to do with the figures, but let's have a look at that when we get there. They need to be a focal point. I had considered leaving them white, but I think it might just look a bit unfinished if I do that, so I don't think that's going to happen. There we go. So we're mostly coloured now, but what I want to do now is just give it a little bit of contrast. So I'm taking a brown, this is chocolate, and I'm going to just mix a little bit of the chocolate with the peach that's on my palette, take a little bit of that off, and just darken some of those pieces more at the edge. Just so it's got a little bit contrast. Maybe like a top bit there, and maybe this piece that's in the background. It's probably enough actually. Right, and then I'm going to take that same brown and I'm going to use it just on its own. And this is what I'm going to use in the windows. So let's go over the orange we'd already done in all the windows and doors. Oh, I made a mess there. Just take that colour off. There we go. Apologies if you can hear my dog going crazy. I don't quite know what's going on downstairs. There we go. And what I'm going to do as well is just go along the ground, at the ground level. And then take the colour off and just merge it in, just to give it a little bit of grounding. There we go, clean your brush. I'm going to just give the sheep some colour. This is ice blue actually, but I'm actually just going to use this directly on here. I don't want them completely white. So I'm just giving them a very rough. There we go. And then I've got a yellow here, which I'm going to go in on the stars. And I might actually just give the sun a bit of a yellow there as well. And then this star here. And then there's another one here. This one looks a bit green actually at the top. I can see I have inadvertently splattered some colour on the card there. So I'm just going to go over it with some water, both places, and then make sure you use a clean bit of kitchen towel, and that will pretty much come completely off. You must ensure your kitchen towel is clean. Okay, Mary and Joseph. I think we need a pale blue for Mary because Mary is always associated with pale blue. Just laying down a tiny little bit of blue there. And I'm just going to merge that in. And then I think Joseph would be a brown, because let's face it, he was a carpenter. So I just laid a piece of brown down there, and then I'm merging that out. Okay, and then I think we need a halo, because they are typically depicted with a halo. So I'm taking a little bit of yellow, and I'm just giving them both a halo. I'm going to similarly give a halo to the baby Jesus, and a little bit of brown for the actual manger. just going to go over some of those windows again, just to get a little bit more contrast. There we go, but that's actually looking quite good. So we've got the nice blue at the top, we've got the gold of the star, which does look a little bit green, but hey, that's fine. The gold of the other star, we've got the sunset, the sheep, the hills and mountains, rolling down to the building. I'm just going to tidy up one of these roofs, because I can see there's a little bit of a gap there. I'm just going to wet that and pull that ink up to the top, which you can also do to correct. And then Mary, I'm just going to give her a bit of blending as well. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm just going to give that a quick dry. I'm not heat embossing this time, so I don't need my heat tool on its highest setting. I can see a particularly nasty blend there, so I'm going to be sorting that out. So just take your water pen and just go over the area. There we go, instantly gone. That's one of the things I love about these pens, they're so forgiving. There we go. So I think we are done with our image. Just going to bend that a little bit and just get that back into a flat shape. The water's obviously affected the paper slightly, even though it's quite a heavy watercolour paper. There we go. That's looking quite nice. There's all sorts of things I could do. I could use some gold around the edge, which could be nice on black and then on a white card, but actually I think I quite like it as it is. I think I'm just going to mount it on some black. So take a piece of black paper, got some double-sided here, just going to put tape on the edges. Obviously you're putting your front down, so make sure your work surface is clean. Keep your cutting mat clean, or if you're going to lay it on a piece of card, lay it on the piece of card, because you can guarantee the card's going to be cleaner than your workspace. So I'm just taking that, and because I've used quite a lot of water, I'm going to put quite a piece down the middle. Just move my pens out of the way, pick up my tweezers, take the tape backs off, and then I'm just going to stick that down. Just eyeballing an even edge. There we go. Turn that over and give it a good press from the back. Particularly around the edges. Okay. Now take a metal ruler and your scalpel or craft knife and roughly work out an even edge. Press down, apply pressure, cut that. Super easy. And then this bottom piece, we need to be a little bit more careful because we've not got much to play with. But if we press down hard, we should be okay. So just eyeball an even border there. Press down. Little trick, do it once lightly, second lightly, third, go for it. There you go, and that works. It just seems to stop things moving. Okay, now Again, tape. And this time round, we're going to do the bunny ears trick, which helps us just line this up on our card blank. I'm going to be putting this onto a DL or 9x20 card blank. I buy mine from Craft UK. You can get them in the range, get them online. Just basic card blanks. It's just easier in my mind than having to cut and fold card yourself. And they're decent quality. So I'm just turning up little flaps everywhere so that I've got an area to stick, but gives me just a little bit of wiggle room. There you go, there's my card blank. Just going to make sure that's folded with my bone folder. Checking both sides to get that even. Yep, that looks okay. And then, I don't want my pen stuck to the back of it, I'm then going to just lay that down, making sure all my bunny ears are down. I know looking at that and actually thinking that's not level, which is not great. Okay, that side's good. Again, my pen. Okay, and then I'm laying that down roughly, and I'm just letting it float above the surface of the card so that I've got room to wiggle. There we go. That looks pretty good. Press down in the middle where that tape is, peel the top off, peel the side off, and just press down as you go. And then I always use my bone folder and just go along on the bottom layer. Just press it down. It ensures it's stuck and ensures there's nothing lifted around the edges, which just looks more professional on your card. I'm noticing here, I've got a very slight, you can probably just see it here, slight area that's rough. So I'm just going to go along with my tweezers or your craft knife and just take that excess loose paper away. There you go, looks much better now. And there's our card. So that's painted, well, stamped and painted in pretty much 30 minutes, which is pretty good. You could add more, you could add some gems, you could add some Nouveau drops, etc. But I actually think it's a pretty enough image that it looks nice like it is. I would be very happy to receive a card like that. You could highlight some of these roofs in gold. There's all sorts of stuff you could do, but I think it's actually beautiful just the way it is. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that quick tutorial. And if you liked it, please like my channel and subscribe, or like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on TikTok as Crafts by John UK. My cards I sell on Etsy as Crafts by John UK. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.